less than a month, the Brooklyn Park Cub on West Broadway will close, but CCX News has learned that it isn't the only store in that area closing. The Cub store plans to close November 16th. A spokesperson confirmed that the Petco in that area will also close next month on November 20th. I talked to neighbors to see how they're reacting. On a Tuesday afternoon, customers rushed through to complete their lunch errands.
Went to the Jimmy John's quite a few times and the Cub. It's definitely a bummer.
But customer Sam Iverson noticed there are fewer options than before.
These ones were surprising because these seem to be pretty busy. The convenience going away, I guess, is going to be a bummer.
The Jolly Lane Jimmy John's and Caribou Coffee closed earlier this year. The Starlight Center Cub Foods is next, closing on November 16th.
Yeah, we hear about it, you know.
For Paco Muevi, who lives close by, the closure is a concerning sign of the economic times.
If I want to buy something, I have to drive it all the way to Maple Grove, you know. It's too much, you know.
And Petco is soon to follow on November 20th, according to a statement from the company. The statement said, in part, quote, "We value the relationships we've built with pet parents in the Brooklyn Park community and look forward to continuing to serve them at our nearby location." Iverson works nearby, so for him, the closures are frustrating, but not impossible.
I've got a car, so it won't affect me as much as some other folks around here.
A Chipotle spokesperson confirmed that the Jolly Lane Chipotle is not one of the businesses that are closing. The Minnesota State Patrol identified the man killed in a Saturday night motorcycle crash in Brooklyn Center. The State Patrol says 24-year-old Austin Pavlak of Edina died when his motorcycle struck a bridge abutment on Highway 252 near Interstate 694. It's unclear what led to his motorcycle leaving the roadway. According to State Patrol, Pavlak was one of 3 motorcyclists who died on Minnesota roadways in about 24 hours. Meanwhile, a Minnetonka man accused of groping a child at a Maple Grove daycare remains at large. Prosecutors allege that 38-year-old Ryan Vaughn inappropriately touched a 9-year-old at tutor time in Maple Grove. The courts issued a warrant for his arrest last week. His attorney asked to have the warrant quashed, saying he's out of state for a funeral and wants to turn himself in. A judge denied that request on Tuesday, and the nationwide warrant is still active. The election is 2 weeks away, and a Wayzata student doesn't want others to forget about it. In this edition of Standout Student, Delane Cleveland takes us to Wayzata High School, where Marcus Westman is helping teens get more involved in politics.
It's kind of like Hamlet in the play.
During an AP English class at Wayzata High School,
yeah, well, if we know that he's a sinner, and that
the students' ideas are free-flowing.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
Today's lesson, trying to determine whether a cheating scandal took place in a certain piece of literature.
Wayward is like, he's a wayward lost soul.
Marcus Westman is quick to debate his point, which is fitting considering his keen interest in politics.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it really started around the 2016 election. Politics aside, it was a fascinating election to watch. And since then, I mean, politics have been volatile, to say the least.
Yet Marcus has more than a passive interest in politics. This Wayzata senior is the founder of the Youth Voter Project. It's a student-led organization dedicated to registering or pre-registering youth throughout Minnesota.
And we recently wrapped up with the end of online voter pre-registration before the 2024 election. And we registered over 1,000 students, which is fantastic. And I could have never imagined having that impact.
If you talk to staff members at Wayzata,
I could see him running for office.
They'll tell you that he's a student who puts his ideas into action, as evidenced by his other leadership role, student body president.
It's not about accolades for himself, but he really truly cares about the work that he's doing and making Wayzata High School a better place, making sure that everyone feels like they belong here.
Because I got a piece of it from some wood used to make John Wayward's coffin.
Marcus still has about 7 more months to go before he graduates, and there's no doubt that he'll put in the work to leave his mark.
That's kind of been my calling for the past 3 years, and I'm looking forward to continuing that.
In Plymouth, Delane Cleveland, CCX News.
Marcus says he's still undecided on a college, but he plans to major in political science. Jobs and hobbies don't always mix, but as Kevin Miller reports, that's not the case for a city worker in Plymouth whose job and hobby are taking her somewhere she never expected.
Some people like to whistle while they work. For Sydney Hudzinski, it's more of a hum or a babble. Then she begins the slow ascent.
Trees are so gorgeous, and there's such wonderful beings that we have on this planet.
Climbing is an everyday part of Sydney's life, but it's never the same old song and dance.
The ability to get paid to climb trees is just wild. It's such a serene feeling up in the canopies, especially when you get like a light breeze. It's just undescribable.
She's a forestry tech for the city of Plymouth, and today's chore, hanging holiday lights, is a good excuse to strengthen her skills and her body.
I like the physical activity with it. You can go to the gym and you can work out, but there's so many different muscles that you didn't know you had that I found out very quickly.
She puts that strength to good use.
I've done about 12 competitions in 2 different countries.
After winning a local competition, she's headed to the International Tree Climbing Championship.
Ever since my first comp in Minnesota back in 2022, it's just been on my goal, and I've been working really hard to get to it. A lot of practice, and so just going is just so exciting.
It's a test of her talents at this job-turned-hobby, and whether or not she comes back with a trophy, that time spent in the canopy hits all the right notes.
It would be rad. It'd be really wonderful too. With it being my first one, I'm just excited to go and have fun.
In Plymouth, Kevin Miller, CCX News.
The International Society of Arboriculture's Tree Climbing Championship is this weekend in Savannah, Georgia.